Hi everyone, and welcome to the second of our key content videos, Introducing Semiotics. In this video, we'll break our approach to semiotic analysis down from the general to the specific, looking at the basic definition of each of the semiotic concepts we'll explore in the rest of the module. The easiest way to develop understanding of theoretical and analytical concepts is to apply them to things. So we'll build up an analysis of this advert concept by concept. This is actually an advert that was developed by CAM students in one of the PANI workshops a few years back. If any of you were involved in PANI earlier in your degree, perhaps after you've finished going through this video, you could think about how the semiotic concepts apply to the advert you developed. The first concept we're going to consider is paradigmatic choices. As with many of the semiotic concepts, this concept is actually quite straightforward at its basis, even though it has a very long and complex name. Paradigmatic choices are about selection. Think about which words and images have been chosen and what other words and images could have been chosen. What is the effect of this? In our chosen advert, a woman rather than a man has been chosen. This is quite a practical choice. Men can develop breast cancer, but it is much more common in women. The woman in the ad is relatively young. Again, this is quite a practical choice because the ad is advertising the Action Cancer Screening Programme, which is specifically available to women who fall outside the age range who are automatically screened by the NHS. Pink has been chosen as the key colour, where any other colour could have been chosen. Pink is, of course, the colour for breast cancer awareness, so this makes a lot of sense and reinforces what the message is about. As an aside, I don't think this is a great reproduction of the image, and I think the pink was brighter in the original. Next, we'll consider syntagmatic choices. Syntagmatic choices are about combination. Think about the relationships between the words and images in the ad. What appears where, and what is the effect? Are there links made between things, and if so, how? The woman appears on the left-hand side of our ad, which means that we engage with her before we engage with the rest of the message. This is because we tend to read messages in the same pattern as our written language has. For English speakers, this is top to bottom and left to right. Seeing the woman first might make the message more personal rather than general, which also gives it a more emotive effect. Furthermore, a choice has been made to not include the top of the woman's head and her eyes in the image. I've been using this advert for discussions with students for a few years now, and many don't like this choice because they feel it actually depersonalises the message, which contradicts what the producer of the message seems to be trying to achieve by having an individual in the ad in the first place. On the other hand, not including the woman's gaze perhaps allows us to see her as a sort of every woman and imagine ourselves in her position. This choice is often made when showing clothes on mannequins, as an aside, so that people will imagine themselves wearing the clothes. Placing the woman on the left and not showing her expression also develops a bit of suspense in the advert. We don't know how the woman feels, but then we move across and see the word reassured, which reassures us that all is well and allows the advert to end on a positive note. To stay with the wording for a moment, using a list of 3 in the description of the screening service, fast, free and confidential, is also a syntagmatic choice because it's to do with which words are put with which other words and in which order. The colour pink works syntagmatically as well as paradigmatically. Using it for the banner and for the woman's top relates the charity to the woman's breast, reinforcing that the message is about breast cancer. And indeed is about the treatment of breast cancer, and in that sense, a positive message. Furthermore, the pink is set against black and white photography, which helps the pink to stand out. and further increase awareness of breast cancer. We could also argue that the black and white photography has an emotive effect, which brings us on to our next set of concepts, denotation and connotation. When considering messages semiotically, it's important to consider denotation and connotation. In doing so, we go beyond the meaning of the words and images in a basic dictionary definition sense, denotation, to think about their associative meaning, connotation. How do they make you feel? What values do you associate with them? The word choices invoke positive connotations. A choice has been made to construct reassurance rather than the battle that is often constructed in relation to cancer. This presupposes the success of the screenings, lowering the number of people who have to live with breast cancer, and gives an overall positive feel to the ad. The font choices have connotations too. Fonts suitable for formal writing have been used, which maintains a seriousness and a respect for the situation. Going back to our analysis of the black and white photography and the colour pink, it's not just that the pink stands out against the black and white, it's also that a brighter and therefore more positive colour stands out against the black and white. It brings life and energy back into an unknown situation. Codes are also relevant here. The most obvious code in use is the English language. Any language is a code. Body language is also a code. The woman has her arms folded. This could suggest distancing herself, protecting herself, or being satisfied. A mixture of the three is an effective message for the ad to communicate. Photography is also a code. Black and white and colour photography are recognisable conventions that have different connotations attached to them, as we have seen, and the style and angles of shots have recognisable conventions too. The style and the angles of the shot here are straightforward, but the framing of the shot, cutting off the eyes of the woman, as we've discussed before, is meaningful because of its deviance and its unexpectedness from the conventions. Going back to thinking about this draws us nicely onto our next concept, modes of address. As a reader, viewer or listener, you can be addressed directly, indirectly, or not at all. Let's think about this ad. Is it addressed to you? Directly or indirectly? How do you know? Pay attention to both words and images when thinking about this. And who is the voice in the ad? Is it the producer of the ad? Is it a narrator? Is it the organisation themselves? What are the effects of this? The image of the woman facing us, but not looking at us, allows a complex effect. It feels a bit like she is addressing us, but indirectly. On the other hand, the lack of directness allows us to put ourselves in her position, as we discussed earlier. The words on the main body of the ad do not address us, they just communicate a state of affairs. However, the words on the banner at the bottom of the ad do address us. This shift in mode of address is very effective. It allows us to imagine ourselves in the position and then, while we are imagining that, addresses us with what to do about it. In this case, the voice is that of the charity itself, which gives it credibility. Another semiotic concept we can apply to text is rhetorical tropes. These are devices of figurative language or imagery. The one we're probably most familiar with is metaphor, so that's the one we'll consider for now. Have another look at the advert. Can you spot any uses of metaphor in it? Any literal words or concrete images that might stand for something more abstract? There actually aren't any, are there? As you'll see as we look more and more at ads, this is unusual, but I certainly don't think it is an oversight. Not using any metaphor in the ad allows it to appear straightforward, which, if you think about it, is exactly how a charity such as this one wants its message to come across. Looking for myths in texts is a key part of semiotic analysis. But myths in the semiotic sense are not necessarily untrue, nor are they about gods, monsters, heroes, and so on. In the semiotic sense, myths are sets of choices that make cultural or ideological assumptions appear natural. There isn't any strong mythical content in this ad. We could say, however, that it suggests that marriage is the natural state for a woman of the age in question, because the model is wearing a wedding ring. On the other hand, you might say that's overthinking it, and either the model who worked on the ad wore a wedding ring normally, or that the actual statistics are that the majority of women in that age group are married, so why not? In any case, the wearing of the wedding ring does not invoke any myths specifically in its relation to the content of this ad, in the way that, say, an ad about products for mothers and babies might. In that case, it could be seen as an ideological suggestion that women should be married before having children. The final semiotic concept we'll think about is intertextuality. This refers to the shaping of a text's meaning by another text. In other words, if you can see or hear echoes of a text you recognise in the text you're currently viewing, you're likely to associate meanings, emotions, and so on from the echoed text in the current text. Let's consider our ad. Does it relate to or remind you of any other text you've seen? This can be text of any genre, not just ads. And it doesn't have to be a specific text. Echoes of another genre are intertextual too. Did you notice that the main wording on the ad is written in the style of a dictionary definition? That makes it intertextual with a different genre. This is called role borrowing, and again, this gives it that serious and straightforward approach that is so appropriate in this context. So there we have it. We've done a full, if basic, semiotic analysis, and it's only week 1. Yay! Imagine how much deeper, more complex, and more nuanced our analyses are going to be by the time we've covered all the content. I hope that you did go through this video as I suggested, by pausing after I explained each semiotic concept to see if you could apply it to the ad yourself, before listening to what I had to say about it. I want you to continue to think semiotically while doing a reflection task. Think of one advert that you particularly like and one advert that you particularly dislike. Consider whether your feelings about these ads can be related to any of the semiotic choices made in them. Why not pause the video here and have a think? Now, let's get into practice for the weekly blog work that you'll be doing on the module. Don't worry, there aren't any marks attached this week, and the task requires more pondering than actual action this week. What I want you to do is decide on 2 adverts that are linked by theme or product type on which you might focus your formative weekly work and summative written analysis assignment. So, you might choose 2 adverts that construct notions of family or friendship, or 2 ads for cars, or 2 ads for food or drink, or 2 ads for environmental campaign groups. Don't worry, I won't hold you to these. You can change them later if you wish. Once you've chosen your adverts, post them in your small group blog area and say something very brief about why you've chosen them. Then, comment on other people's choices and help each other to ensure the ads you've chosen will work. I mean, anything can be analysed semiotically, but choosing adverts that contrast with each other in interesting ways, or that are quite originally done might give you more to work with. You can ask any questions or clarify any confusion in the live session. Okay, that's us for this week. Check out the application task instructions for a bit more guidance on how to choose your ads, where to post them and what to say about them. Happy reflecting and analysing!